Welcome back to my 10-day series on 10 days to winning ways. Today I'm going to talk about Module 2, which is calling or passion and why you must have it. Remember in the last module I told you I'm very passionate about teaching people about passion and calling. So let's get started. There's a difference between passion and calling though, and let me explain it to you a little bit. What is passion? Well, according to Mr. Webster, passion is a strong and barely controllable emotion, a state of outburst of such an emotion. So you can be passionate about many things, but that doesn't mean it's a true calling from a higher source. You can be passionate about helping people. You can even be passionate about hurting people. Maybe something happened to you and all of a sudden you have a passion to hurt somebody, but that's not a true calling. And that passion will dissipate also. A true calling, I believe, comes from a higher source. I call my higher source God because I'm a Christian. I make no bones about it. I'm a Christian. My higher source is God, but you have to get it from whoever you feel your higher source is. Someone call it your why. You've probably heard that before. It's your why. But my belief is it has to be something bigger than just your why. Your why could be to make money, and that's not a bad why, but your why usually benefits society. So why don't you find your life purpose? Read a lot of self-help books about it. I've read those before. They tell you to look within yourself to find your meaning or your purpose. Well, you're looking in the wrong place if that's where you're looking. You need to look to a higher source. There's something out there that's bigger than us. Most everybody believes that. So you need to look to that to find out where your purpose or your calling actually is. And what drives you? Some people are driven by the really wrong things, but you're always driven by something. So what is it that drives you? You can be driven by guilt. You can be driven by resentment and anger. You can be driven by fear. You can be driven by materialism. And you can be driven by the need for approval. So let's get into them for just a little bit. Are you driven by guilt? Do you allow your past to control your future? You will unconsciously punish yourself and sabotage your own success if you're driven by guilt. And I know this because my husband is one of those people that's driven by guilt. He's getting better at it, but his whole life he sabotaged himself because he was raised in a family that put a lot of guilt on him. And his whole life he just didn't want to be successful. And the reason was because he had so much guilt in his life. We're products of our past, but we're not prisoners of it. Okay, my husband has had to give up a lot of his guilt trips, okay, and he has. So he's come out of that. So we need to, if you're driven by guilt, you need to start coming out of that process of guilt because, believe me, you're not guilty of everything. Become passionate about doing something and you'll get a fresh start. So if you know your calling, become passionate about your calling, you're going to get a fresh start. Are you driven by anger and resentment? Let me tell you about people that are driven by anger and resentment. They let hurts hold them and they never let them go. Resentment-driven people clam up and internalize their anger. Anger-driven people blow up and explode on others. So they'll keep it in for a while, but then they'll blow up and just explode. Your past is your past. Don't hold on to hurts. Let them go. People are going to hurt you. They may not mean to hurt you, and they may mean to hurt you, but whatever they've done to you, you have to forgive them, and you just have to let it go. That's the first step in letting go of all of this anger and resentment that you have. Are you driven by fear? Fear comes from many things, and this is how I've been driven for a long time. It comes from a traumatic experience, unrealistic expectations, growing up in a highly controlled family, or it can even be something genetic. My problem was I grew up in a highly controlled family. I grew up out in the country, on a ranch. I was an only child. The only people I saw when I was growing up were my parents, and so they controlled everything I did. When I got into school, I was afraid of everybody. I used to hide from everybody. Fear-driven people miss great opportunities. I know that because I've missed a lot of great opportunities in my life because I was afraid of them and I was afraid to talk to people about them. They play it safe and at all times miss opportunity. I've done that. Everybody fears something. I still fear rattlesnakes, okay? We live way out in the country in the desert. They come through here all the time, but that doesn't mean I run away screaming when I see one. Fear is a self-imposed prison that will keep you from becoming all that you are supposed to be. How do you get rid of that prison? and get rid of that fear? You overcome fear with love. And this is a quote in the Bible, and it says, "There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear involves torment. But he who fears has not been made perfect. Perfect love casts out all fear." So if you love what you do, you're going to overcome your fear no matter what you have to do because you love it so much, right? If you love people, you have no fear in dealing with them. I know I had to pray for love for people. Now that I have that love, I have a lot less fear in dealing with people than I used to have a long time ago. Are you driven by materialism? This is a big one in the United States. It's the drive to always want more. It's based on the misconception that having more will make you happy, when it really won't. Your self-worth is based on your net worth. Your value should not be placed on valuables. You're valuable anyway. No matter how much stuff you have, you're valuable to somebody. I hope you're valuable to your family, your spouse, to your God. You're valuable to somebody, no matter how much stuff you have. And you lose that stuff very quickly. Remember back in 2008 when this housing crisis thing started to happen? People lost their homes, their jobs, their 401ks, all of their stuff. They were depressed because most of their value was in their stuff. You can always lose it. Security comes when you're living your purpose or your passion and you're just doing it. That's where your security comes from. Are you driven by the need for approval? Do you allow everyone else's expectations to rule your life? Adults wanting approval from disapproving parents. I was that way. My dad never approved of anything I ever did. So all my life I sought approval from him. And sometimes not even really knowing it. But as I got older, and right before he died, I just gave that up. I said, I'm not ever going to get his approval. It's just something I'm going to have to live with, and I gave it up. And believe me, it really freed me up to do other things because I gave up that need for his approval. Peer pressure, following the crowd. One of the keys to failure is following everyone. Following everyone is a guaranteed way to miss the purpose in your life. Believe me, if you follow the crowd, I can almost guarantee you will never get your purpose. How do you know it's a real calling or purpose? Well, here's some of the ways that I think that you know it's a real calling or purpose. If it's a talent that you have since birth, it's something to do with your calling. I have a friend who's a very good piano player and keyboard player. He's an older gentleman. He's in his 70s, and he used to record with Liberace. He recorded with Del Shannon, and he also used to tour with Jerry Lee Lewis, so he's very good. Now what he does is he runs the praise and worship teams in his church. He believes that is his calling to do that. It's something that burns within you. It has for a long time. You know it's a calling. That's me. I've had something that's burned within me for a long time to help society. Also, I have another friend that she's had this burning desire for a long time to coach people and to help them financially and mentally with her coaching. She has a great coaching program. She's great at it, and she knows that it's her calling. If someone inspires you and you can't get it out of your mind, you know it's a calling. I have another friend. He was inspired by a missionary that came to his school when he was 16 years old, and he always thought that he had a calling to do something for God. So he's been a pastor all of his life because he felt like that was his calling. He's in his 50s now and he's still doing it, and he'll probably die doing it because he loves doing it so much. If there's some tragedy that happens in your life and you feel like you've got to do something, this might be a calling. It might not be, but it might be. I know I have some friends, they lost their daughter. She was like about a year old and they lost her in a tragic accident. They quit their jobs and now they feel it's their life calling to help people that have had the same thing happen to them. And I believe that's a true calling. So if it is a tragedy and it benefits society, then it's a calling. If you see something that you feel you got to change and you can't get rid of that in your heart, it's a calling. That's what happened to Mother Teresa. She saw these people in Calcutta that were poor, and she just kept feeling, I've got to help them, I've got to help them. The church kept standing in her way, but she kept thinking, I've got to help them. Finally, the church let her go, and she spent her whole life doing that. So that's a calling. A true purpose from a higher power is something that will help society in some way. We think of callings as people like Gandhi or Billy Graham, and they had great callings, no doubt about it. Another person I feel like had a great calling was Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter. He helped people because he helped them understand that these animals that nobody liked actually needed our help. And he helped society have more compassion because he helped all these animals that people hated. Why is it important to have a life purpose? It's very important for a lot of reasons, but let me go over a few of them. Knowing your purpose or calling gives meaning to your life. Knowing your purpose or calling simplifies your life. Knowing your purpose or calling focuses your life. Knowing your purpose or calling benefits society. Like I said, it benefits society. It gives meaning to your life. All life is made to have meaning, right? We shouldn't be just bouncing around out there with no meaning to our lives. People look for it in all the wrong places. For horoscopes, astrology, psychics. We look with from in because of these self-help books. Believe me, life without purpose is pointless. You can't be just floating around out there. You've got to have a purpose to give you meaning. Without purpose or calling, there's no hope. I've labored to no purpose. I spent my strength for nothing. This comes from Isaiah in the Bible. You need hope to cope. Those with a deep sense of life purpose or hope are more likely to survive illnesses than those who have no purpose. Well, doesn't that just make sense? If you feel like you have a purpose, don't you want to live long enough to complete it? The greatest tragedy is not death, but life lived without purpose. This is from Rick Warren, who wrote Purpose Driven Life. So he's an expert. He ought to know. Knowing your purpose simplifies your life. Ask yourself, does this activity help fulfill my purpose in life? Without a clear purpose, how do you know where to allocate your time, where to put your money, or how to make proper decisions? Stop trying to please everyone because you never will. So live your life with purpose. Simplify your life by stop trying to make everybody happy. You'll never do that. This leads to a much simpler life. You're not trying to please everyone, and you have a purpose, so you know where to allocate your time and your money. It's a much simpler life. Knowing your purpose focuses your life. It allows you to concentrate your effort on what is important. Become effective and selective. Many people are living life in quiet desperation because they don't know what to do. They're not focused on anything. They're just bouncing around out there. They don't know what to do. A focused life is a life lived on purpose. If you want to have impact in life, focus it. Don't be going here, going there, going all over the place. Focus it on something. Knowing your purpose motivates your life. Purpose always produces passion. Passion dissipates without purpose. I said that before, right? Purpose produces passion, but passion does not necessarily produce purpose. Most of us go through life without a purpose or a passion, right? We just, like I said, we're just bouncing around there. We live meaningless lives and do meaningless work. Meaningless work, not overwork, saps your strength and robs your joy. So if you're working at McDonald's and you don't feel like you should be working there, it saps your strength, it robs your joy, you get depressed, you feel tired, and that's just because you have no motivation. Knowing your purpose helps society. Remember Mother Teresa. She helped the poor in India. She started an order of nuns to do the same thing. So do you think having Mother Teresa here on earth and living her life with passion benefited the earth? I do. Many people just walking around not knowing what they're supposed to do with their lives. A life lived with purpose always benefits society. Remember, you're not an accident. You're here on purpose. You're not an accident. You're put here to live your life on purpose. Living your life with purpose is the greatest thing you can do on this earth. So for your homework today, I'd like you to start thinking about what is your purpose. Think about it, pray about it, whatever you feel you should do, and then write it down, because things that get written down usually happen a lot better than things that are just in your mind. Think about what motivates you. Are you motivated by fear? Are you motivated by guilt? Are you motivated by your passion? What is it that motivates you? Think about the situation you're in right now and what you can start to change to get on a path to achieving your purpose. And also write that down. So if you're interested in becoming part of my team, where I help you with your passion and your motivation, and just let me tell you about this. It takes time, it takes work, it may not be what you think it is, but if you start on it, it will help you work towards your passion. Please call me at 575-524-0777, or you can call my husband, he's a part of my team, at 575-621-2212. You can email me at support@betterrecruitingnow.com. If you got this from a member of my team, go back to the email they sent you, and the information on how to contact them should be there.